Hello, 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 and welcome in to Bear With Us, brought to you by Bear Claw Media and presented by Crave Hot Dogs and Barbecue in Greeley, Colorado, offering smoked brisket, pulled chicken, and pulled pork, along with 100% all beef hot dogs, brats, and hot sausages grilled to perfection. It's the perfect setting for a family outing or a night out with friends. Stop by and hashtag beat the craving today. I am Chris Bolin, and I am joined, as always, by Ben Schleiger. Ben, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, pretty good. It was a good Bears day. Not a great Bears day, but hey, we gave it our all and ended up pretty close. I mean, hey, to be 11 points off of potentially the sixth best team in the country. We'll break down kind of some commentary on that later by Coach Lamb of all that. But yeah, I mean, 11 points off of who could be number six, not bad. I mean, considering I had a backup quarterback, a little bit of a gift, but hey, it's better than last year at least.
Truly, and as Coach Lamb said pregame, I think he said he kind of echoed it at halftime to you, and then also said postgame. Basically, UC Davis has had good quarterbacks for 100 years. Like no matter what, who's taking the snaps, wearing the uniform, it's safe to say that they probably have some talent back there. And what I think Lamb very specifically tries to avoid saying on camera, but heavily implies from time to time is they played what 2 games in 2 seasons with their starting quarterback here at UNC. So I don't think you're garnering much sympathy from him. But I think you said something interesting. It was much better than last year, and it, by all accounts, had a chance to be exactly as bad as last year because they were up 24-0 at half last year, basically. This year, it was 24-0 with what 40 seconds left until halftime when Monroe caught that 51-yard pass. So just I think that's like a very good encapsulation of the progress this team has made from last year. When down 24-0 last year, you have no chance of scoring 24 points. Like, I think that's kind of the beginning and end of it. So, like, you might as well just roll over and let's get that clock running as UC Davis just hands the ball off a bunch in the second half. But showed a lot of resolve, a lot of fight. Defense kind of short things up, actually, really short things up in the second half. And it ultimately ended 11-point loss, which the odds makers nailed it again. Anytime there's a 10.5 point spread, I should, or like an 8.5 or 7.5, I should just expect that there's going to be a missed extra point because that seems to be always how it happens. Um, but yeah, what were your kind of overall takeaways on this one, Ben?
I mean, it was a good day for football. You know, decent crowd, nice weather, just the atmosphere overall. Like people were still filing in at game time. I was like, all right, this is pretty nice. You know, don't usually have a line for a Bears game. But yeah, they look like a new team. They look like they deserve to be in Big Sky play, and Coach echoed that. It's just we were competitive. Might not have been in a good place to win it in many parts of the game, besides maybe mid fourth quarter. But outside of that, like really, like it's a better team, and if we clean some stuff up, it's it's almost a great team. But you know, just add some stuff that really kept us back. You know, we'll go through the game here in a second, but yeah, it's just a couple like costly mistakes here and there that just really put us in a hole that we couldn't recover from.
Yeah, the I think the mistakes were it. Like we were talking to Ann after the game, and she's like, "These ones are tough because there's not really one thing to point to." And I agree, there wasn't like one thing that went wrong or one like in South Dakota, LJ Phillips ran for 300 yards. Like there wasn't something like that. But just mistakes at the worst times. It felt. It was Monroe and Brandon Johnson both so sure-handed. Generally, big drops. I think Monroe's may have been a third down. I think Johnson's was like a 2nd and 9, but he would have got like he had enough like grass in front of him. He would have got a first down, kept that drive going. And then Wednesday's presser, Lamb said Tim Plow and UC Davis's offense. They do a really good job of mixing in like those gimmicky plays, but while also having like a true identity in what they do. And I think they scored at least 2 of those touchdowns on kind of those gimmicky plays where they just schemed a running back wide open, like 10 yards down the field. And Jacob and I joked on the broadcast, like we probably could have made 2 of those touchdown throws that Grant Harper ended up throwing because it was just, he was so wide open. And that's what we really haven't seen this year. Like especially from the secondary, we've seen 2 40-plus yard touchdown runs on 4th and 6, but we haven't just seen guys running wide open in the secondary. And then kudos to the defense, though. We didn't see that in the second half. 2 interceptions, really kind of. If they would have played like that out of the gate, you don't go down 24-0. And I think this is a battle to the end. It already kind of was, but I think it was like truly a 50-50 type game if you don't have that.
Yeah, I mean, it really helps with Grant Harper in there. Although he did look like a stud in the first half. That was a problem. I was like, all right, well, Pennick's not here. Like, that's crazy. Especially since he had just been named to the Jerry Rice Award watch list, which only 22 players in the whole nation get put on that kind of like finalizing type list of narrowing it down for the season. So shout out to him. Probably would have been a different game if he was in, but also it could have been a
100%.
different game in the sense that he throws it a lot more than Harper did. Harper was about 50%, and really a lot of those misses came in the second half, especially in the third quarter. So looking at it, like the Bears did an admirable job, but really it was just a culmination of could have beens.
100%. And kind of to illustrate the difference in that first half and second half. In the second half, UNC had those 2 interceptions. Grant Harper had 2 completions. So he literally completed as many balls to UNC as he did UC Davis receivers in that second half. I believe, I don't have the halftime stats in front of me, but I referenced it enough yesterday. I think he was 12 of 16 or 13 of 6. Actually, he got 1 late completion on that. There was like a wide receiver screen on the last drive. So he had 1 more completion than he did interception. But he was like 12 of 16 in the first half and finished 15 of 31. So the defense like completely locked up that pass game in the second half. And I wonder, do you think they just kind of are nervous playing at home, Ben? That's a stupid question, it feels like to ask, but both Idaho State and yesterday they come out, I feel not nervous maybe isn't the word, but they're like so excited to like play in front of a home crowd. Still haven't gotten a Division I win at home in the Ed Lamb era, which let that one sit for a second.
Hey, we'll get one for sure at the end of the year. Like if we don't get that, there's no chance.
I would never say heads are going to roll surrounding this UNC program, but if we somehow Portland State comes to town and just like knocks our teeth in as they're sitting at 0-11, I think that's a deep look in the mirror moment.
Yeah, that should be a long, hard sigh for sure. I don't know. I definitely think there might be something there. As you famously ask Coach all the time, does this team know how to win, or have they learned how to win? And like, sure, we've definitely done 3 wins worth of learning and whatnot. But yeah, just starting out on the first drive, like they ran down there. It seemed hot. It seemed effective. It was like, whoa, this might be a little competitive. And then big old number 92, he gets a hand on the ball, and Willick's ball goes off to the side. So yeah, I mean, like just from that, like it seemed like their confidence kind of got punched in the mouth because like they just started sliding downhill. Like it was the next couple drives where punt, allowed a field goal, fumble. Like Gibson never like just hangs it out there. I don't think he even knew that guy was there. I think he was just so laser focused on what can I do for my team, and he just kind of fucked up and didn't do anything good for his team. But that's not like him. I wouldn't chalk that up to he needs to control the ball better. I think he was just like so laser focused he couldn't even hear the footsteps. And then, they get a touchdown out of that drive, and all of a sudden we're down 10-0, just like you were saying with Idaho State. It's like, that's tough. And then UC Davis goes on to score 4 out of 6 drives in the first halves. And then, of course, we get the miracle drive from Monroe, which I was down there staging, waiting to talk to coach, and it was cool to kind of see it from a field perspective of like not exactly where Gibson was, but I was like, he hucked it up, and I'm like, oh god, and I was like, oh, he caught it, oh, he's cutting across the field, oh, like we got a touchdown here, like what? So that was kind of cool. Like, gives you a real kind of Madden perspective. Like, what does this guy see? Because when Gwen turned around for the comeback route, I was like, literally there was this cute little hole in the line that just opened like the Red Sea, and I'm like, Gwen's there, and then he darts Gwen. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, I don't know what's in the Bears' head besides that. Like the first half, it wasn't like them. It wasn't like the last couple weeks. Like I was telling you earlier, like it wasn't the team that beat Idaho.
Yeah, I kind of asked coach in the post game. It felt like this offense went back to like what they were pre-bye, where it was just like things were kind of clicking at times. They were able to move the ball, but they just couldn't. They were missing one piece of the puzzle. And I think you really have to credit UC Davis for that because um, again, Lamb said like midweek that like a lot of these deep passes aren't just call. We don't like say there's one-on-one outside, like just a lock on Carver and chuck it. There's a lot of them are RPOs that kind of manufacture that one-on-one coverage, and Gibson pulls it and chucks it. And I think UC Davis, I mean, good because like that's been the whole offense all season, and I'm kind of surprised it took teams this long to really like start really like shadowing those outside receivers with an extra safety. They were playing like 10-15 yards off of Cheeks at times, which led to a couple screen passes, which that dude is tough to bring down, but that's another conversation. And it just they made UNC nickel and dime it down the field, and just UNC made one too many mistakes on basically every drive. Like those drops killed momentum. Because when you can't get those 50-yard chunk plays, you really need to go 10 plays, 12 plays down the field and execute perfectly on at least like 10 or 11 of those. And just weren't able to do that today. And I think, thank God, that Monroe play happened at the end of the first half, because without that momentum, I think it could have been a bit of a rollover at halftime game, unfortunately.
I don't necessarily agree with that, but I think it could have been a lot slower start. I wouldn't say it was exactly fast or hot coming out. I mean, we didn't score until almost the end of the third quarter there. But yeah, like I don't know. It seemed like this was a different offense, and not just because we were having to do the nickel and dime. And I get where coach is coming from that. If you got sacked on first down and you're at 2nd and 12, 2nd and 14, like you can't make up the 14 all at once. You could, but it's highly unlikely, and likely to cause a turnover and get yourself in even more trouble. So I get like, yeah, we got 14 to go, we got 12 to go. Let's get 5. Let's get 6. Let's do what we can do on this play, and then we'll do what we have to on the next play. I understand that way of thinking, but it just, I don't know, like Rex Connors was out, like their corners were good, and I know the crowd was calling for PI left and right. The crowd's always going to do that, but I gotta give credit to 10 and 11. Like those guys were grimy. They were disgusting secondary players in the sense of they did everything um, up to a penalty. So like I commend them. Like great job playing defense. Like you were nasty and I hate you, but you were also playing defense literally the best you could without drawing a foul. And I was like, people would get upset, and I'm like looking at the monitor. I'm like, it's not. Like, look, like he reaches his hand in, he doesn't turn him until after the ball's gone. Like, it was unfortunate, but unfortunately that sick dial it up 30 yards to the sideline type play with Cheeks, it just wasn't going to be in there with, especially with 11. He was just super lanky. Just if that guy was paint, he could have been paint on our players. Just dump him over. He would have just been right there, just coating our players all game. So unfortunately, we did have to change the offense, but it was just kind of frustrating. I mean, like not having Price in there. I know he was partially limited due to his ankle, but like only giving him one carry, it's like I don't know. Like he's such a reliable up the middle type guy. Even if it's for a couple more, like I feel like we had the opportunity to do that, but we got too worried about being behind.
Yeah, which I do understand because this was as much as we were used to being down 24 at halftime. This specific UNC team had spent almost no time this season down by multiple scores. So you're right. You can't just abandon the run, though. Especially, I'm still a Brandon Johnson guy. I I think I'm okay with Price only getting one carry if he was limited in practice. Lamb referenced one like swing pass he caught and just wasn't really able to, make a move. So I'm going to defer. I would have liked to see him at least get a couple more up the middle because that's less kind of side to side. But I'm going to defer to them who have seen him in practice all week. But plus, I just like Brandon Johnson. I'm a little partial. I love the
Well,
way he
I
runs.
like
I
him
love.
too as well. It just like one carry, like usually everybody who's playing
I
backup
feel
was
you.
getting like four carries. So, it was almost like even distribution the last couple weeks of like four, 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 a couple more here or there, a couple less. But yeah, it would have been nice to have Price in the game more. I think Johnson did a great job. I mean, he cashed in after Tuha got a great interception. We had a terrible look at it. Did he actually go out of bounds? Because it definitely felt like a couple ref things went against us. I'm not saying it would have changed the game, but there was definitely some changes in how many points we scored due to some ref calls.
I think he stepped out. I think he stepped out inside the 5, not at the 9, though. Um, like when they called it a touchdown, and I like wrote on a piece of paper, stepped out, and like underlined it and slid it over to Jacob. So I think
Mm,
I expected him
that's
to
fair.
have to like go up to the review, but they must have just saw. I don't know if at FCS they have somebody who's just like, no, you guys got that wrong. We don't need to review it. Just move the ball like they do in like the NFL. But
Right. Yeah, we just never got a replay for the fans, so I was like, oh, that sucks. Because like his family was like just up and to the right of us, and they were so freaking excited for him.
also, his second pick this year, right? Because he had one at It was a pick against CSU, didn't he? If not, he had a fumble recovery where he came out of the pile like running the ball. So cool to see. Tuha, he was one of those guys last year that I felt like was in all the time and just never got a ton of shine. Which when you're giving up 60 points, I guess it's kind of hard to give too much shine to the defense. But he's been a good contributor this year. I think Preston Hadley has the defensive rotations like pretty down pat. I like the way they rotate guys in. They went real deep this week. I saw Cruz Redding, who I follow on Twitter, who like I was going through like tackle stats and I was like, wait a minute, Cruz got in. So, but like, I like how they're kind of in that part of the season too, where like if you can still get a few games in without burning a red shirt for some of these younger guys. I also saw Blake Wesleyan line up at D tackle, like interior D lineman, and number 35. He cannot be more than 240 pounds. I don't remember exactly how the play went, but that that stood out to me. Um, but yeah, they moving forward. They made it interesting in the fourth quarter. Like the defense did enough. The Tuha interception, then Cam Chappa had two that he kind of almost should have had, and finally gets one. Moves up into, if he wasn't already top 5 in the D1 interception leaderboard at UNC, he is now. Um, but yeah, then UNC down 11, they drive. They have all the momentum after that Chap interception, and they have to settle for a field goal, which ultimately was what made the difference in the game. Because you score that touchdown, it's like 6 minutes left. Even if you don't get the extra point, you're still down 5. And then if UC Davis does exactly what they do, drive down and kick that field goal, you still have a chance. You're still down 8. You need a touchdown and 2-pointer, but it didn't feel like a death knell in the moment. like when they kicked that field goal, but after they just couldn't stop UC Davis on that 7 minute drive. It started to be like, oh, they needed a touchdown there.
Yeah, and it was super tough because had a lot of great momentum, and then that costly ghost PI. It was like, what? Like, what do you mean Garrison was blocking downfield? Like, that just looked like hand fighting to me. But I don't know. Ref saw it differently twice. I would love to know of all the Big Sky teams, how many have actually been called for offensive pass interference, because it seems like at least every season we get a handful of those, and it's like I never see this called anywhere else. Like, what are you talking about? Like, and it's always for blocking. It's never for like push offs or stuff. Like I think Carver had one legit push off this year, but it's like I don't know. It feels strangely attached to us for some reason. I don't think it's related to how we play, but that's just me griping. But yeah, that going for the field goal and then having that long bleeding 7 minute drive. Not even talking about the field goal because that definitely iced the game. But 7 minutes off the board, that's an eternity. That's a whole different game. And then Gibson was trying, but eventually he did like huck it down the field, and they were expecting him to huck it down the field, and it was a walk off interception. So that's kind of how the game ended. But it's just like I don't know. It felt not like the Bears. It felt very uncharacteristic, and maybe that's because UC Davis did such a good job getting us out of what we succeed with. So we had to use all of our secondary strengths and whatnot, and it just didn't pan out for us. Adding to your Cam Chappell love, Chris, he is number
Please.
3 in interceptions for the Big Sky.
Okay, I think I go on this monologue every week, but Cam Chappa, man, touchdown saver. Um, Probably the most sure tackler on this UNC Bears defense, which is crazy. I mean, probably makes sense, but he had some shit to him yesterday too. I don't really know what the phrase would be, but he was like playing to the echo of the whistle. It felt like he was talking trash. He was like hitting guys just a little bit harder. I don't know if if it was like a revenge against UC Davis thing, but he was playing with a little chutzpah out there, and I love to see it. I love that fire. I love Cam Chappa. We should get him on this off season. Maybe before the portal opens, just to be safe, Ben. But I love me some Cam Chappa. Um, but yeah,
I
so
was gonna say just adding
yeah,
to some other love around the top 10 for stats. Hudson Boguser, he is number 7th in the Big Sky with 63 tackles, along with Chappa. Chappa's number 6. So as for tackles, we got 6th and 7th in the conference. There's a couple other like niche ones that we're in, but as far as like bread and butter type categories, Eric Gibson is 2nd in yards. Who would have ever assumed that we'd ever be having a type of
I
season like
know.
that? And that's with him, like technically played, um, like in each game, but like really, really took over like partway through. What was it, the second game?
No, it was he ended the third quarter against Shadron. He took
End of
over.
the third quarter. Okay,
So,
so he
but
did
so that's like I think he threw for like 39 yards, and those are severely dragging down his averages.
right for sure. So pending that, like he's at 2,086 yards, 10 touchdowns. Does have 8 interceptions, but last week at sack, kind of hurt that
And
quite a bit.
two of those interceptions were yesterday, and then CSU last play of the game. Like it didn't matter at all type interceptions. So still six and four of those in one game, and then the other two in a different game, both pick six. Just weird. Sorry, I didn't need to go on that little tangent, but just weird interceptions by Gibson this year.
And then we do have 2 more bread and butter top 10 guys. One is a category leader in Carver Cheeks. He's still leading the Big Sky in yards. For receiving, he's at 804. Next one behind him is Michael Sulikov at 703. So Cheeks
Unbelievable.
had
Okay.
804 yards and 5 touchdowns, averaging 100 yards a game. And then our buddy Monroe, who's been out a couple games, he is number 9th in the Big Sky at 497 and 3 touchdowns, averaging about 82 yards a game.
Yeah, and Cheeks with 79 on 8 catches yesterday. Monroe 8 catches for 100, heavily aided by that 51-yard touchdown just before halftime. But shout out on that little cutback he did on that play. That's just something I don't feel like you see very often on those outside fade routes. Just putting your foot in the ground and taking it back towards midfield. But worked perfect. I think he's getting a little bit better at like the hands fighting, like body positioning stuff on those deep balls, because that's been not so much this year, but in years past it was like we talked about him like being just a little out of position on some of those. Granted, the throws were also usually a little out of position, so there's only so much you can criticize. But yeah, I like the fact that they're making such a point to get the ball to their playmakers on the outside. Like I love the fact that Monroe and Cheeks have 8 catches, and the next guy's a running back with 4. It's like those are the playmakers, and then everybody else is kind of like relief valves. It almost feels like.
Yeah, no, it's a great feel to have 2 premier receivers, and it really helps cement that fact when you see, oh wow, we have the first and the 9th best receiver in the conference and the 2nd best quarterback, at least according to yards. Like just crazy situation we would never find ourselves in most UNC Bear years, at least so far. Hopefully, this is the norm going forward. But yeah, just having that's crazy. I think you're right. I think it's either as the season goes on, Carver's uh, learning and showing more, or he's just been put in situations where he has to show even more skills. Because I think 8 for 79, just under a 10-yard average, but he really fought for a lot of those yards. Like he's out there dancing, and not in the basketball type of sense of dancing. Like it's thoughtful, like juke, try to shuck, try to spin for another yard or two, try to like lean his body in and like get a little bit of a push down for another yard. He really was out there fighting for yards, and I think that's really important for everybody on the team to see, especially in the receiver room, but just as a Bear in general. I think to have him be out there, not like dancing, not trying to do all basketball pretty boy bullshit, but he's out there trying to do thoughtful football moves to make everybody miss and get as many yards for his team as he can. He really has been, as much of a selfish thing as it is getting more yards, it's almost been selfless in the way that he's been doing everything he possibly can on a play to just put himself even in a bad spot, like physically where he's going to get rocked. Like he's
He's gonna
putting
get
himself
hit in the
out there,
balls.
yeah, every time to
You
like
see that
go.
one?
So I don't know. He really impressed me yesterday with how much he was fighting for yards. I think that's something that the whole team needs to be like, look, this guy's out here making guys have to do like baseball slides past. Like you could hear the stands on the sideline. I don't remember where it was in the game. I think it was later on in the third quarter, but he like did this cute little like it was like a stutter step and then a hard juke to the left, and you could just see this guy like baseball slide past, and everybody's like, "Whoa!" It was like that's always a fun moment. Like it didn't go for a lot of yards. I think it was like a 6 or 7 yard completion, but it was like, oh, like he just made like a move that just got everybody excited. Like that's what we need. We need guys out here, not the pretty boy stuff, but like I'm gonna do everything I can for another yard type stuff.
And the thing is, like, maybe that's a pretty boy move, but then in 3 more yards, he's putting his helmet down into 3 guys and making them basically get his feet off the ground to bring him down. And like you said, yeah, maybe only a 6 or 7 yard gain, but he makes that guy miss at like what would have been a 2 yard gain. So,
Exactly. Like he was really extending everything he could.
and yeah, I love that grit. I love just give it to Carver. I'm kind of at the point at this point, like, give him the ball as much as you can, because who knows if he's going to be here next year. I think I might have one way I'm leaning but like, just get him the ball as much as we can. But yeah,
Chris, don't advocate for something that hasn't happened yet, brother. He
I'm
might
not.
make some friends and like it. He might like the little youth group that Quinn and everybody's got going on campus. Who knows? He might be bought in. Also, shout out to Charlie Garrison. He was really stretching out for some passes. He was just unfortunately the victim of just some whiff type moments from Gibson, which was very uncharacteristic. But like I was telling you, I think he might have just had a kink in his shoulder or something at one point, because even as big as Garrison is, like, he was getting overthrown. So I think there's a good chance Garrison could have been at like 5 catches for 50 yards if a couple things went a little bit more correctly, more accurately.
And should say Rocco Traore came back, hasn't played in 4 or 5 weeks with that. I think I've been calling it a knee hyperextension. I don't know what the actual diagnosis is, but his knee bent the wrong way in that Houston Christian game. So good to see him back. He actually looked a little bit. I've been I've been a little lower on him than some of the other backs. I thought he looked good today. He limited action, but I thought when he did catch the ball in space, he he was a little slippery, a little tough to bring down. Um, but just wanted to give him a shout out. Didn't get any carries actually. Just caught 2 passes. So that's kind of fitting with what he did before he got injured. I think he's still like 4th on the team in receptions, even missing the past 4 or 5 games. But what are your overall feelings after this game as a UNC fan, Ben? A weird one, but also like we kind of touched on top. If this was last year, I think we would have maybe been this. We were in the same situation as last year, and last year it ended 59-7. So you can't argue that this team is much improved, but it's still these losses adding up still sting a little bit.
I mean, I think you definitely could argue this team is much improved. I think almost everything about yesterday showed it. Of course, I think, like, I want to say great effort, but let's put an asterisk, as this game could have been better or worse if Pinnock was in. I think we have to notably put out there, like, UC Davis felt fine running their team without Pinnock, like, or at least like they didn't try to do anything like South Dakota State, which offended the hell out of Craig Haley. I don't know if you've seen that whole controversy online, but he basically, like, Chase Mason was in a boot all week, and
Oh
like
yeah.
the
Oh, he
South
would have
Dakota State
shit
put
his
out, oh yeah,
fucking
no, he's
pants
gonna be starting
with
quarterback,
Idaho.
and I was like, as it gets closer, they kept on, it was 50%. It's like, he's been in a boot all week, but I respect the
Sorry, Ben.
gamesmanship. I think,
Craig Haley would have shit his pants if he saw Joshua Wood warming up with the ones in Idaho just to go change
oh
into
yeah,
sweatpants before kickoff. So
oh yeah.
I think it is silly, but that the South Dakota State one is by far not the most egregious example.
No, and like I put it out there, like, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Eddie Guerrero,
Yeah.
baby. All right, but like, come on, like, it's gamesmanship. It is what it is. But also, like, we saw the flip side of this on this week of, like, Davis just kept it quiet. We didn't really find out until Ann found out, and it chalk it up as he was sick or whatever. But Davis felt fine coming into this game with that, and like, that says something positive about them, negative about us. But at the same time, like, we still saw the majority of a top 25 team. Yes, potentially a defensive player of the year for the whole league is out for the season, and we didn't see Pinnock, so that does change it quite a bit. But let's just chalk it up to UC Davis is a top 25 team, and we finished 11 points off of a top 25 team. I think that's still a lot of pats on the back. Of course, pats on the back don't, pay the paycheck or get you wins, but I think it is notable difference that we are not getting blown out. It's not miserable for the fans. We have players that are more developed and trying harder, and some of the new guys we brought in are stepping up in huge ways. Like, if this was last year, we might have been on quarterback cycle of death part 3, but thankfully we're not. Thankfully Gibson stepped up and has been a hidden gem for us, kind of a Kyle Sloter-esque. So it's been a
Truly.
fun season so far. 3-5. It really should be 4-4. fuck CSU, especially since they just lost the border war and got blanked. Go Cowboys. Come on, baby. But like we really should be 4-4. And like this is a season I think we should be proud of, but not like satisfied with. Like Montana State, that's gonna be a nasty bear, all puns included. But really there's still some winnable games out there. NAU looks shaky. Portland looks like dead in the water. Eastern's weird. Like there's definitely things to still strive for this season, and I just want to keep seeing the Bears keep on striving for it. We didn't really have any like defensive leaders this week, but I think that's almost a compliment. And I know you hate to see the secondary being the top 3 spots of the defensive stats, but I also think it's a compliment to the team that everybody was involved and everybody was, making effort. And it wasn't because nobody could do their job, so everybody was on the field trying to make stats on the defense. I think it was just coordinated efforts that everybody in their zone tried to take care of their zone the best they could. There's definitely some missed assignments and got burned a couple times in the first quarter, but overall, like I'm much happier with this team than last year.
Oh yeah, and the thing is, it sucks that we've talked about this not at length, but a couple times. The schedule's really backloaded for the winnable games. Like if we could, Eastern Washington being 3-1 in the Big Sky is criminal. Yeah, congrats, you beat Weber State, Portland State, and Idaho. Like they're probably gonna I could see them easily finishing 3-5 in the conference. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they lost out here. But I wish UNC could have got like a Portland State earlier in the season, or even Eastern Washington, kind of instead of just this murderer's row. Because if UNC's 2-2 in the Big Sky or 3-1 right now, vibes are high, and I think you're playing with more confidence going into a tough stretch. But also, there could be positives to maybe we lose next week, competitive, hopefully, against Northern Arizona. Like that one feels still winnable even on the road. And then maybe you get 2 wins to end the year and have some momentum going into next season. But let's pivot forward, Ben, to Montana State. It doesn't get any easier from here. It's a noon kickoff right before the time change, so it should be a nice sunny afternoon at Nottingham again, hopefully. And I like how you put early spread $1 million ? On the FCS Sportsbook, the early spread is 25.5, which feels disrespectful, Ben. I'm not going to lie, especially since Cal Poly just lost by 17. And I'm not saying we're better than Cal Poly, but I think Cal Poly is like a fair counterpart to compare us to when it comes to like spreads and such. So what are your early thoughts on Montana State coming to Greeley next week?
Just a side thought, it's a shame we don't play Cal Poly. I feel like that would be a very down to the wire type game of they're like
it'd be fun too.
They're kind of like a hot and cold like real football team. We're kind of a hot and cold like real football team. I feel like that would be a bit of a banger. Sacramento State was, even though it was a loss and like we wished it would have been a different result. All in all, that game was a banger, I would say. So it would have been like great to play them because I feel like that's a bit more of a peer. But then again, we also escaped Montana, so here and there.
I wish we had Montana this year, which is crazy. I'm still hating on the Grizzlies. I think we could beat Montana this year. I still don't think they're that good, but continue.
Okay, yeah, we'll disagree on Beyond the Den, but that's for everybody to tune into that episode. Come check us out there. I think Big Brother is actually a better matchup for us. And I could be very much regretting this when we do this a week from now, and it's whatever score it might be. I think the running is going to be a huge problem for us. I think the specialists are going to be a huge problem. I mean, not that they're necessarily jumping off the board to any degree for receiving yards, but Taco Dowler, their kind of Swiss Army knife, he is leading them with 479, and he's a dangerous returner. And I think that's something that we always have to be on the lookout for is just, stay in your lane, be disciplined. It doesn't matter if this guy is like Cinderella Deion Sanders over here. Like it doesn't matter. Don't go away from your assignment. Keep discipline. Lamson, I'm not impressed with. I know his touchdown to interception ratio is really great at 13-2, but he doesn't throw it a lot. I feel like if he gets pressed to throw it, which is hilarious because we're awful at run defense right now, but if we can press him to throw it, I feel like Chapa's going to get in there. I feel like other guys are going to get a hand on it. I feel like the passing game's just not going to go well for them. Then again, I think their running game is good enough. They don't have to deviate from it. So ultimately, I don't necessarily see a Bears win or a likely Bears win, but 25, that's a hard spread. I'd say 20 or less. Like if Cal Poly can do it, why not us? Why not us being 17 to 20 points off?
That's honestly kind of where I'm at. 25 and a half feels a little high. I'm right there with you, Ben. I
It's
don't
always
think,
weird at Nottingham.
yeah, 100%. And I think that line's probably still accounting for a lot of, not a lot, but enough of last year's results, like that it hasn't worked its way out of the algorithm yet. I'm with you though. I'm afraid Montana State may be able to throw the ball 6 times and win against us next week. I don't see any reason why they would need to really like air it out. Lamson's been good. He's done exactly what they've needed him to do, but he hasn't done anything spectacular. Like you said, he's averaging about 8 yards per attempt, 11 yards per completion. So they're not really asking him to air it out, throw it super deep. But they haven't needed to because Adam Jones, and then the other running back who I frantically, Julius Davis, who's actually leading the team. He not as many carries, but he's averaging 7.3 yards per carry. So that fucking sucks for our front four who have been getting torched for most of the season. So yeah,
But Chris, we'll be seeing the seventh best rusher in the conference rather than the second best.
that's true. That's true.
So that's
Who
something.
we actually held in check. Granted, our run defense was better this week. It's crazy
It
because it
was
still gave up
annoying.
like 260 yards, 230 on the ground, um, which I think is actually under our average by a lot, which is kind of crazy. But yes, it was improved. It wasn't just like when they handed it off, I was positive they were going to get 6 yards. Sometimes they got like 12 or 13, but there were more than enough where they were kind of met at the line and kind of swarmed by, or this like the D line or linebackers would at least slow them down enough that a couple other guys could swarm in and make a tackle. So it's still definitely a weakness, but I'm a little more encouraged. But they didn't. That being said, UC Davis controlled the flow of the game completely. So they didn't really need to just rack up a bunch of yards either through the air or on the ground. Um, what are your two wishes and a worry heading into Montana State? Or if you want, you can do a wish and two worries. If you're feeling rather pessimistic for this one.
I am, but I'm also happy to have another home game, especially since the
Same.
weather's so great. So, if we're gonna see a potential playoff team, for the FCS, we may as well see them during good weather, and hope that the Bears can put a damper on their season. But it is what it is. We have the Big Sky. We're not afraid to play anybody. Um, that being said, my worry, obviously, I'm going to put the run game. That's going to be number one. So I'll make Chris have to choose something else. But um, yeah, my worry is the run game is just they are big, nasty bulldozers, and what can we do? What setups, what line shifts are we going to put in to make it so we make them have to work for it? Um, One wish I have is Gibson gets in there and cleans it up a little bit. I think he was good this week. It was better than Sac State, where it was just two bad interceptions and two interceptions that he couldn't do anything about. Like the defender had it locked down the whole time. Um, but just clean it up a little bit, and I hope that we cause some turnovers. I think if some turnovers are caused, one that'll shake their confidence, and make it so that it's that we have a little bit of a chance. But also, I think if we just have something to take away from it, even if it's just a couple, couple highlights, a couple things on the stat sheet, I think that'll still keep spirits high. So when we go to see, I think it's Northern Arizona the week afterwards,
Yeah.
we won't be like just in the trenches, just like, oh man, okay, well, stuff sucks. It's almost like season's almost over. Like, who's talking about going where? Like, who's talking about next year? Who's talking about graduating because it's their last year, and just want to get those senior moments in. So I think just have some takeaways from it. Have some good moments because like if it's not going to be a win, at least ball out and get yourself a highlight.
No, 100%. Those are pretty solid. You took the you kind of took my my low hanging fruit, Ben, which I appreciate. I should have went first. I shouldn't have asked you. Um, my worry is I'll kind of go more macro instead of micro. My worry that this is going to be a big letdown game for UNC. They've battled in every single one of these. They haven't had one of those just kind of rollover games, and maybe it's just not in their DNA. Maybe they're not gonna. If they're gonna, it feels like either yesterday or next week would be the game. And I thought it was going to be yesterday, but shout out they fought back hard. They did not um, they didn't give up at all. So I'm worried that like Montana State will just come out, punch us in the mouth, and will kind of cower down. Which sounds more negative than it needs to. But those games just happen throughout the course of the season, where you just don't have your best fight one week. Then for my wishes, I want to see like a clean game because UNC has to limit mistakes if they're gonna have any chance. We can't have the strip sack. We can't have. I mean, Gibson can throw an interception or even two interceptions as long as they're not like those drive kill. If it's just a 50-50 ball that Monroe or Cheeks gets kind of out jumped on, you know what? That's an arm punt. Like you can chalk those up because they've been so successful, but it can't be like the doesn't see the defender pick six on one of those RPO slants. And then
Yeah,
second,
the other thing with that is like the offensive pass interference. Like we can argue that all day long whether it is or isn't. The one thing that's undisputable is we had 12 men in the huddle
mm,
twice. We
yeah, that was a bad one.
procedurally we can't do stupid things like that, and that might have just been bad communication or somebody wasn't paying attention. That's fine. Go sit on the bench, get a Gatorade. Like you can get in next series, but right now, like you need to stop costing us 5 yards.
No, I'm glad you brought that up because we hadn't really seen that all year, and we saw it a couple times. Just those what we'd seen in the past couple of years type of mistakes. And then I went too broad on that last one where I touched on like the entire. I kind of poached my own second answer. I want to see maybe a little bit. My second wish is tighten up the running back rotation just a bit. Like I think I've liked it pretty well throughout the whole season. I think they've done a much better job than last year rotating guys in. But I think there's one too many people getting carries, and it's tough because once injuries happen and you kind of have some of those lower guys on the depth chart step up and they play well, you want to reward them, but also I don't think you I don't think you want to reward them at the expense of like getting a Matthias Price or a Brandon Johnson or a Justin Gwynn into more rhythm. Where I think if you can keep it to three with like a fourth maybe every now and then, I like that a little better than like the five, which I think unfortunately squeezes out Kearius Boone in this scenario. Which
And
unfortunately he's
Lambert.
done yeah. I feel like Lambert's already kind of been squeezed out, but both of those guys have done everything right. Yet no fault of y'all's, just kind of the numbers game. Hopefully you'll be here next year. Like you'll have like a chance to get your time in, and it's good to get some experience. But I think that's my second wish.
Yeah, I like how it's been more of an honest, or at least a more of an accurate running back rotation. Is like, if we're gonna do it based off a scheme, we're just gonna keep it even across the board. If we're gonna do it based off of like who we are and what our identity is, like They've been very good, at least in the last couple of weeks, excluding this past Saturday, of giving Price about 16 carries, and everybody else gets a share of 3-3-3 or 4-4-4.
I also don't hate using Price as the change of pace guy, which feels a little backwards. Like, if you wanna, if it makes sense for the week, the defense you're seeing, if you want Brent Johnson and Gwynn to maybe be the tone setters as a little shiftier, like more elusive, and then you bring in Matthias Price to run in the A gap and like punch you in the mouth. Like, I don't hate that either if he's like the change of pace guy, especially if he's still battling injury. But I do. I think I'm with you. I don't hate when he takes the lion's share of the carries, and I think that's shaken out pretty much for the most part the way it should throughout the year.
I don't know. I kind of like just giving him the boring carries of just like run up the middle, get what you can, be a bulldozer. I mean, hell, just like I don't know if I don't know if you can do it in college because of logo and athletic branding and all this other stuff, but just spat the hell out of his cleats. Just make him absolute cement shoes. Just keep on spatting it. Just keep on going. Wrap it around. Wrap it around. Make sure that ankle can't go anywhere. Make sure that knee or whatever like doesn't have to worry about where the shoes are at or if the shoe's ever coming off. Just spat it on there. Give him all the braces he can get. Soup him up in all of the O lineman braces. Give him every single thing. Like just let him be like the what is it? Trying to think. I'm bad at referencing superheroes, but just let him be like the Thing. Let him be the Hulk. Just let him just get in there, like spitting, fire and stuff, coming down the A gap, just being a mean, nasty predator. Let him do that, and then like let everybody else do the cutesy bullshit. Because like I feel like he does the angry running great. But yeah, you got to do what you got to do. You got to protect players. Coach gave it a fair reference in the post game that we've referenced a couple times, as he was available late in the week, so less practice reps, means less preparation. So I get that. I'll be a little cynical as a running back. Your stuff isn't really that different. I was a running back. The film's not that different. You're just running at different guys in different ways. So kind of thought that was a little bit of a softball answer, but it was also fair. It wasn't. We're not basing it off of the mysterious averages that actually didn't matter from last year and pissed a lot of the running backs off. We're going off of you came back to practice late. It's not your fault. It's just based off of injury. That's what it is. That sucks, especially since you've been the featured back. But at least we're going off of like something concrete instead of like concrete and being like, well, the scheme called for not going by what I said I was going to go by all year. So I think our words and actions have matched up a lot better this year.
I think honestly, like, just being a little better helps that a lot too, because I think they were probably trying to manufacture so much last year. Like the Northern Arizona opening drive comes to mind, where I think it was Van Shield got like 60 yards rushing on that opening drive, where they just ran that heavy set with Keone, and then they just never handed him the ball again. And I think they were just under a lot of I think it was a lot of pressure, mostly self-imposed, because I think by the end, like, fans were mad, but also what are they going to do, that I think they were trying to like manufacture some of that stuff that I think they were in their own heads a lot as a coaching staff last year too. So it's good to see, but nonetheless, I'm just kind of rambling here, but it's good to see the running back rotation more shored up this year. So any closing thoughts, Ben, before we get out of here?
No, just happy to be a Bear this week. Sucks to be a CSU Ram, so take that, losers, the Boots and Laramie. But yeah, no, happy to be a Bear. It's been a good year. 3-5 is not reflective of how much better this team has been. So I hope for their sakes and for their own self-recognition and self-esteem that we get. I'm hoping for 3. I'm hoping we go 3-1 down the stretch. That's my hope. I think we can go 2-2. I think that's pretty respectable, and we end up 5-7. I would love to end up 6-6 or better.
I'm 100% with you. I think 6-6 is doable. I don't ever want to say like there's a floor, but I really hope 4-8 is the floor and 5-7 should be the expectation, I guess. And then that NAU game, while they'll be favored by a touchdown plus, I think it's a very winnable game. So I'm right there with you. I think I would have, coming into the season, if you would have said we have 4 wins, I would have been like, fucking hell yeah, like that's awesome.
I'm pretty
So
sure I
but
picked 4 wins at the beginning of the year.
so
I'm
hey,
pretty
I
sure.
hope you're wrong. I hope you're wrong, but I hope you're wrong because you didn't believe enough instead of the other way around. But as always, if you like what we're doing, please, please, please like, comment, subscribe, review. Tell your mom to like, comment, subscribe, review. And check out Crave Hot Dogs and Barbecue down in Greeley, Colorado. It's over in the Westlake Shopping Center, 35th Ave and 20th Street. Go in, say hi to Todd and Heath. I don't know why I always want to call them Teeth and Hod, but maybe that could be a Halloween costume for those guys. Doing cool events, doing cool events just about every night. Go say hi to Amber. She's doing karaoke or trivia. I'm sure she probably also helps with the poker nights. She's just around all the time, but good guys, good food, affordable. Something I don't mention enough, but for what you're getting, very affordable. So go give them a
And
shout
when we
out.
say affordable, this isn't like Dickies. This is like affordable, but made with care, made like good scratch kitchen type stuff. Yeah, these guys put in a lot of hard work to their food, and they put in a lot of hard work to their theme nights. So if you're into poker, if you're into karaoke, you're into just like a kid friendly night. They also have non-kid friendly nights. But if you're into any of that, like stop by, good food, and it's big. The restaurant, that's the other thing that we don't mention is like if you're a little bit like antisocial, or if you're just like you want to hide in the corner with your friends and play a board game, they got that. If you want to like be an asshole and take the comfy chairs like me and Chris do, we take the comfy chairs.
Yeah, every
Like,
time.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
pro
power
tip,
move. You
comfy.
just sit in the recliner right next to the smoked whiskey. Yeah, it's a vibe.
I was gonna say the comfy chairs are right next to that self-pour beer wall too. So, you'll know the ones we're talking about. So, as always, thank you for listening and have a good one.